Well, hello everyone. What is going on? Welcome back for some more game dev. How's everyone doing today? Or tonight? Or whatever it is where you are. So, Pre-Alpha 2 is out. Go play it if you haven't already. I'm talking, of course, of Traction Point Pre-Alpha 2, which I launched earlier in the week. And I put out a trailer for it yesterday, and that has brought in a few new people. Let's actually go in here and set the music down to 0 so that we don't have overlapping music happening on the stream. That's not cool. Anyway, Pre-Alpha 2, as you can see, is out. You can play this now. Do so by going to the Discord server and finding the download there in the announcement page. I'm gonna put a link to the Discord in the chat as soon as I can find one. Like so. And yeah, the response has been pretty good. To be fair, this release has been mostly a technical release. I re-engineered, re-fungineered a whole bunch of things on the engine level in preparation for everything I want to do, sort of gameplay wise. And so it's a little bit light on the gameplay side, but we got a few new cool things, like the gripper truck, for example, which is playing really nice, if I may say so myself. Yeah, we can just go into the build here and have a look-see. So I got some pretty good suggestions from you guys, and I figured we're gonna try to well, try out a few of them, or at least like one. I have one particular in mind. We can see if it actually works out on this stream. Oh, do let me know, by the way. I typically say this, but I forgot today. Do let me know if my audio levels are okay, or if they need changing somehow. If I'm too loud or too low, or the music is too loud or whatever. Let's actually bring it down just a tad. There we go. So, what are we looking at? Well, this is not strictly Pre-Alpha 2, by the way. This has already seen some further developments than what is in Pre-Alpha 2. So it's not like 100% the build that you're playing, but it's pretty close. One thing that I experimented with today was actually tweaking the turning for the mother vehicle. Now the mother vehicle actually turns with all 4 wheels, and the turning is sort of symmetrical in the sense that, like, the 2 front wheels turn one way, the 4 front wheels turn one way, right? And the 4 rear wheels turn the other way, which you can see here. That makes the turning radius significantly smaller than it used to be. And this suggestion came from the user on our Discord. It's a very helpful one. Kind of obvious in hindsight. I should have thought of that myself. There's a little bit of fixing still to be done with this, which I think I might actually have to hack PhysX4 a little bit. Not necessarily have to, but I think that is the easiest way to make it work for me. But yeah, the turning radius now is just like much smaller. So this thing almost turns on a dime now, which is kind of nice. Should help it get out of tricky situations more easily. And I kind of want to have it be this tight if I can solve all the issues. There's one in particular, especially if you are like driving this in sort of like an uphill, and you're starting from stationary. It sometimes takes a little while for it to get going, and I'm thinking that has to do with the fact that when you have a vehicle like this, the wheels on the inside of the curve typically needs to turn more than the wheels on the outside curve. That's something called Ackermann steering. And when you have a vehicle that has this tight of a turning radius, that becomes more and more important. Now the Scout has Ackermann steering because the PhysX vehicle SDK supports it out of the box for 4-wheeled vehicles, but not for N-wheeled vehicles, so basically like 8-wheeled vehicles. I think that's at least like one issue that we're having with this now. But it's kind of neat how it just like can do these super tight turns here. No problem. So that's really cool. Keep the feedback coming if you have any. And if you don't have any because you haven't played the build, well, go play the build. I've also gotten some feedback for, you know, having to join the Discord to play the build. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna change that right now. The reason I want people to join the Discord is because the build is still kind of rough, and I sort of want people who play the build, I want them to have like an immediate, you know, communication channel to me to give feedback about things that don't work or things that generally suck, or if they need help, they can very easily ask me or whoever on the Discord. That's kind of why I had that. Why I have people going through Discord. That of course won't be the case forever, but for some time still probably. Hopefully that's not gonna be an issue. And of course, if you want to, if you have the build and you want to give it to someone who is not on the Discord, then by all means you're free to do that. Free to share and spread the build however you want. That's fine, but I'm not really gonna do that outside of Discord, at least for the time being. Right, so what am I going to do today? Well, there was another. Oh, we have a question. Let's see. Jason, hello, Jason. Welcome to the stream. The wheels to the outside of the turn should spin faster, right? Because they're traveling further than the inner wheels. Indeed, they should. They should, and they do. So that typically is something related to the so-called differential on the vehicle. So the differential, there are like a huge number of different differentials depending on what kind of vehicle you are designing. I mean, in real life. And differentials are modeled in the vehicle SDK as well. The Scout uses something called a limited slip differential, which is quite often found in vehicles, in just like personal, you know, sedans and whatnot. Normal cars in real life, at least in like slightly more premium cars. I think they're actually quite common in almost all cars these days. And that means that the wheels are sort of like free to spin. They don't need to rotate at the same speed as the other wheels. And just like Jason is saying here, if you take a turn like this, I'm trying to like not turn so fast. Now we get like a nice long turn like this. Then we pause the game. Like the outside here is the distance the outside wheels have to travel is longer than the distance the inside wheel have to travel, right? In the same amount of time. And that means that the outside wheels and the inside wheels of the turn can't actually rotate at the same speed. If they do that, then either the outside or the inside wheels will kind of start jumping forward or backward, and that's kind of nasty feeling in the game and in real life as well. Limited slip differentials typically tend to they have sort of like a mechanical detection system for if like a wheel is slipping a lot. Imagine like you have a car that is standing with one wheel on a patch of ice and the three other wheels are on tarmac. The one wheel on the ice doesn't really have any grip, right? While the other wheels have a lot of grip. Or, you know, you've driven your car into a ditch and one wheel is in the air. You might have actually experienced this yourselves. Like if you try to back out of the ditch, it kind of feels like only the wheel in the air is rotating, like spinning like crazy, and all the other wheels are like not rotating at all. And that is what the limited slip differential tries to sort of detect in a way, that like if one wheel is spinning, rather than giving all the torque to that wheel, it kind of distributes them more evenly. And for the mother vehicle, and also for the truck, I actually have a slightly custom version of like an N-wheel differential that the PhysX vehicle SDK doesn't support out of the box. I actually try to probably show this to you. Let's go with the truck here. So here we have a truck. This is 6 wheels, right? Limited slip differential is fun in a rear-wheel drive. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever driven a rear-wheel drive car in real life. So do tell me what is interesting about that. And Gigadit, hello, welcome to the stream. Absolutely, you can ask questions. That's why I'm here. Well, actually, I'm here to work, but like I've said in the past, if you have questions, just shoot them, fire them away. I'm trying to find like a patch, like an uneven patch of land, so that I can demonstrate this problem to you. I'm hoping we can find something like that. Let's see. Gaxla N _ asks, is the game entirely written in Zig? It is not, no. Or well, I guess it kind of depends on what you mean. But the engine is C++. The game is Zig, so I mean it's kind of like semantics, right? I kind of consider the entire game to be written in Zig, but it is indeed running on a C++ engine. So it's kind of like asking, is a Unity game entirely written in C#? Well, yeah, probably, because like the developers don't have access to the engine source code, right? At least most of the time. So they kind of consider, yeah, the entire thing is written in C#, but actually it is sitting on top of the C++ engine, because Unity itself is written in C++. So we kind of have like the similar sort of deal here. Let's see, this may be like a good place to try this out. So now if I start from here, it kind of works pretty well. It just gets up. There's no slipping or anything like that. Well, let's go to vehicle definitions, and we have the gripper truck JSON file here. And we take away my custom section here called torque vectoring, and it just updates in hot updates really. And you can see, oh no, we can no longer get up the slope. I'm just holding the accelerator here. You can see like what is happening. Well, oh no, there's like one wheel there, just like in the air apparently, ever so slightly, and it gets all the torque, or it kind of looks like it gets all the torque. So what's happening? Well, we don't have limited slip support for 6-wheeled vehicles, and so what torque vectoring does, and this is something that I've had to sort of hack into physics myself, is like it figures out which one of the wheels actually have the most compressed suspension, and adjusts the torque to those wheels that actually are have some sort of compression, right, in their suspension, which typically means that they are not in the air. That of course won't work if you're having that wheel on a patch of ice or something that has very bad friction or very low friction. But yeah, you can actually, without torque vectoring, with this out-of-the-box differential, you can actually get stuck quite easily with this 6-wheeled vehicle here. Other vehicle not so much. You can actually drive it pretty well without torque vectoring. Right, why did you choose to use Zig instead of CPP for Dawn? Dawn? Oh, there's no Dawn involved in this anymore at all. I assume you're talking about the web GPU video I did a couple of years ago, which is still my most popular video, I might add. And almost everything that I said in there is well, has been sort of superseded by NVRHI these days. So it pains me a little bit that it's still my most popular video, because it's not really out of date in the sense like a lot of the information there is still accurate, but for this particular project, I didn't use web GPU at all anymore. I moved on to NVRHI, which solves almost all of the issues that the web GPU solved for me. NVRHI solved, and it's important to note here that like I don't target the browser at all. I didn't target the browser back then. I said it very clearly in that video. I don't target the browser, and I used web GPU solely as a sort of abstraction layer on top of the more lower level APIs. And NVRHI does all of that as well. And it does it, in my opinion, better. And NVRHI is generally it's like a smaller library than a web GPU. So I can target D3D11, 12, and Vulkan with NVRHI more effectively than I ever could with web GPU, and that's basically what I used. The only sort of downside for me essentially is that NVRHI doesn't support Metal, or that can be added. But yes, there's no Dawn in this at all anymore. And no web GPU either. I made a video about NVRHI some time ago, which tends to get a lot of hits and views whenever Cherno says something about NVRHI, because he's also using it, and he seems to be still in the process of porting to it. But whenever he makes a video about NVRHI, I get a lot of hits on my videos, so thank you, Cherno, for that. But I said in that video that, like, if your use case is such that you actually target the browser or even the Mac, then NVRHI might not be a better solution for you. WebGPU with either Dawn or WGPU might actually be better for you, right? I'm not trying to, like, bash WebGPU or anything like that. It's just like, for me, NVRHI is clearly the better option. I hope that answers your question and more. Gigadit. Okay, so for today, the main thing that I was thinking we would do today is in the feedback there was a little bit of let's see, there's another question here. I'm new to WebGPU Dawn. How did you get around to using constant push as immediate data? Yeah, see, I'm not using WebGPU anymore. Quite simply, I'm not. The WebGPU video is over 2 years old at this point, and I'm not using it anymore. So I'm sorry, you're gonna have to ask someone else about that these days. I mainly target Windows native games. NVRHI seems interesting. It is, in my opinion, clearly the best option for if you are targeting, let's say, Windows, Linux, maybe Steam Deck, maybe even some of the new consoles, because, like, it is of course possible to write custom backends for NVRHI. I think NVRHI is clearly, like, the nicest abstraction. If you don't want absolute power, if you don't know that, oh, I'm gonna have to hand code a Vulkan renderer for this and I know exactly what I'm doing, then you should do that. But if you don't do that, then I think NVRHI is currently the best option. Absolutely. But yeah, sorry, I can't really give any opinion. Well, I can give opinions, but I'm not gonna want to give it because they are probably out of date, since I haven't really worked with WebGPU for maybe a year or something. I don't really want to give you any advice on WebGPU. You're probably better served by going to the WebGPU C++ Discord. I'm gonna post. Let's see if we can find the thing here. WebGPU C++ guide, right? This thing. And there's also a Discord somewhere, Discord link. You can probably find this, but yeah, Google WebGPU C++ guide, and this thing is essentially like the best resource if you're working with native games and want to use WebGPU for that. Do you think NVRHI is better than WebGPU for native games? I'm inclined to say yes. It's always a little like saying something is better than something else is clearly like always comes with a bunch of like yes but things, right? Do you target the browser? Well, no, then it's not better. Do you target macOS or even perhaps iOS? It's probably not better for that either. In all other cases, yeah, it's probably better, right? Something like that. But give it a go. They are WebGPU and NVRHI. The actual API isn't very different. Like you should, if you already target one, it shouldn't be super difficult to try out the other. Yes, it will take like probably a few days, but a few days isn't really anything compared to like riding raw Vulcan or D3, D12. So just give it a shot and see what happens. That's my advice. Okay, I'm gonna get started with today's tasks. You're free to continue asking questions about web GPU or NVRHI if you want to. I may or may not answer them, depending on how into the work I am. But I actually need to I need to do a little bit of work today. And you're free to come and discuss these things on the Discord as well. But I'll try to answer any questions you have in the stream still. So just keep them coming. Maybe I'll just do it a bit later. So, as you would know if you play the game, if you play the build, you can radio your friends here. So we have the mother and we have the scout. You can ask the scouts to move here. Now we don't really know where the scout is currently. I don't remember where I left it, like, to be honest. And so if we go like, hey, where are you? We don't really know where they are. So there's this character Diego, which is driving the scout if you are in another vehicle. And Diego says, sure thing, I will come to you. So that essentially means that, like, okay, there we go, there he is. Diego has found a path on the nav mesh to you. Like, for example, if you're inside of the base there, and the doors are closed, and you ask Diego to come to you, he will say, I can't find a way there because, like, the doors are closed. So how would he, right? And this was one thing that came up in the feedback for the build, right? We don't really know where our bodies are in the world typically. And now if I ask the mother, you know, come here, the mother says sure thing. I think it's still like up there near the refinery or whatever. But like you don't really have any idea where they are, and it might take a little bit of while for the mother specifically to come to you because it's such a slow vehicle, right? So, how do we solve this? And some kind of nice, kind of neat solutions to this would be to have some sort of outline for the vehicle that would be drawn on top of everything else. Actually, movement finished, we can see there in the log. So apparently the mother was somewhere here because they actually, yeah, there we go. There's the mother. Hello, mother. Come to us. Mother is driving, but again, it's kind of guesswork sometimes where they are, and if they, especially if the mother has gotten stuck somewhere, it can be kind of annoying because it's like you're asking it to come to you, and it goes like, yeah, I'm coming, but then it potentially never arrives. So I was thinking, when you actually select one of these guys here, you haven't issued any orders yet, like the scout, for example. We haven't ordered the scout to come here, but we can select it, and we can see here in the menu that we are now talking to the scout. And I was thinking, like, okay, so as long as we have the scout menu open, we would have an icon that would show where the vehicle is. So now it would sort of like show here somewhere through that cliff there, right? The outline is kind of nice, and that might be what we want to have in the end, but right now I don't really have renderer support for that. So I'm gonna go with an icon, and I was thinking we could use the same sort of kind of math as we do with these vehicle switching icons, right? just render through everything. Actually, they're sort of part of the HUD, so they would render on top of everything. But we would just have a radio icon there instead. How about that? So just like we have handbrake on, thank you. Just like we have that icon showing there that the vehicle that we are about to switch to, if we click Y, we have like a radio icon. The radio icon would stay open as long as we have this radio connection to, or it would stay visible as long as you have this thing open, right? That would be pretty easy to implement, and so we could perhaps even do it in the stream. So, I did a little bit of design here. Here's a HUD sort of mock-up file that I've used. So we have the radio here. It would technically, I guess, be that one. This is just a mock-up. I've used some of these things to actually implement the HUD. And I was thinking we would have just this radio icon, same as what we have here in the actual menus. This is actually larger than that one. That's strange. Is it larger in the game as well? No, it's the same size. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so we would have this, and we would have a ring sort of around this. Like when you activate it, it would go like that, essentially. Kind of scale it up as an animation. And as a matter of fact, I actually already made that animation. I don't really want to animate on stream, so it looks like this. Just a very simple sort of radio ping, essentially. And this radio ping is fully vector graphics. You can see we can zoom into it very, very closely. It doesn't pixelate or anything. And then we just have this expanding sort of ring around it. And you know, we could, if your body was, let's say, behind you right now, and you open this menu like this, it would show here along the border, and then this ping would sort of go around it like that, right? So that could look kind of cool. And of course it wouldn't do this thing all the time, it would just do it once. Let's see. Thought about adding return command. It takes mother and the other to the previous position. A new position is selected after you tell mother and the cargo to return to the second time. Yeah, something like that might be kind of useful actually. It would have to be. I've thought of this, and I've thought of some. There's some issues to make it sort of easy to use, but like you know, powerful enough that you would actually want to use it. Like let's say you essentially you would want to have at least one, but maybe more, sort of like memory positions, right? Like positions in the memory that the guys can remember, right? Let's go actually to the. I can't order the truck around because the truck is not set up to do that. But if I switch to it, I can order the scout around. So like if we think about it like this, you can go like, okay, hey scout, move here, right? And then it goes to that position. And then you ask it, okay, now you know, come here instead. And let's wait until it arrives. Now it comes here instead. Now, what if we wanted to actually have it move back to the previous position? There could be a separate command that would be like, you know, go to previous or something like that. But that's sort of like there's both like, I guess, usability issues as well as just like narrative issues. You know, what should the command actually say? Should it say go to previous? That's a very strange thing to say over the radio. Or would the command be something like, you know, remember this position, you know, wherever you are right now, remember that, and then that is sort of like the place that they can go back to or something like that. That might be one you know, one way of doing it. But that then of course requires that they have actually moved to that position. And if you are like, you know, move here, and you would want the people to remember the position you are at now, that would require them to actually, you know, move there themselves or something like that. So I think what I've sort of landed on, something that I'm gonna try to do is like a like an aiming thing where you can go scout, and then there would be like another option here. It's like move to, and then once you select move to, you go into sort of like a mode where you get almost like a, you know, like a crosshair or something, where you can point on the ground and it would show you sort of a place. And it could be like 1 meter from you or something like this, or it could be like, you know, over here by the rocks, like quite far from you. And then you could go like, hey, go there, right? And I think that would be probably, you know, most of the time that's kind of like what you want. Not always. Sometimes you want them to go to some place that is like doesn't have line of sight to you, but I think that will solve like almost all the issues. But maybe some kind of memory thing would work. I don't know exactly. Sup Shout, welcome to the stream. Anyway, so yeah, this icon thing that we have running here in the background, like if you're, let's see if I can remember how to use this program. I'm not a very good animator. Let's say the conceptually, if we kind of consider this to be the game screen, right? If you radio someone and they're on the left of you, it would look like this. Let's actually zoom out a little bit because I think that's a little too large. It would kind of look like this, and it would of course just ping one time. If they're behind you, it would look like this, and to the right like this. And if it's somewhere on the screen, like let's say the vehicle is over there roughly on the screen, that's even slightly too large. It would look something like this, right? And we kind of already have a slightly similar system to that. If we run the load test mission script. So this is a test mission that I have here just to very easily verify that the mission system is running, and there's like this very kind of like bogus test mission. You can see actually has like a mission marker that moves along the edges of the screen. We can use a code that drives this to actually position that animation. It kind of goes behind that top bar there. I'm gonna disconnect that. Oh no, that crashed the game. Or actually probably shut down the game. Yeah, that's stupid. See, F12 is how you toggle the debug overlay, but F12 is also like break into debugger, so that's a bit stupid. We can just load some test vehicles here from this. And actually, let's run this test mission. Now we can shut those down. Take them away. Right, so mission marker. I don't really use this in the game yet. It can very easily be used from a mission script like this. You see that the mission here is actually highlighting like a box over there. The mission is basically just like go nudge the box a little bit. But you can see that it kind of works pretty well, that the fact that it kind of shows you which direction that box is. So we should be able to just move that animation thing along sort of like the edges of the screen like this. I may be, you know, misremembering something. There's a little bit of snapping going on there. Apparently it's not quite perfect. But still, we can start with this and we can see where that takes us. I think the mission ends if we just go bonk this a little bit. Excellent. And now the mission's over. So again, I'm gonna move this around like this, and it would do this ping thing. It would basically play this animation whenever you open the menu for the radio contact that you have going, right? How about that? So I need to remember how to actually get animations into my HUD. I love the whole car is affected by physics. How is it done? Is the car exported through Blender? And in Blender you give special object names such as antenna and wheels, and then your engine take those. Use a physics engine for them. Pretty much, yeah. Something like that. So if we turn on the physics display here, you should be looking at these red boxes. This weird sort of blinking. I'm gonna get rid of that. Actually, I'm gonna stop it. Where's the pause? Is right there. This thing which is blinking here is the mass frame, and this blinking basically just means that PhysX won't let it sleep currently. But yeah, you have these red boxes. They're the physics shapes, basically like collision shapes. So I have collisions for the body, I have collisions for the wheels, and you have collisions for the antenna, which are these sort of like sausage-looking things. That you can see that it's kind of like segmented in a way. Now if we drive around with this, you can actually see that the visual representation of the antenna doesn't quite match up with the physics version of it. That's basically because I've toned down the effect a little bit there on the visual side. But yeah, the physics engine then poses all of these things at runtime. Like this vehicle has just like a whole bunch of more. You can see all of these flickering mass frames here going a little crazy. If we raise the bed, you can see the bed is made up of a bunch of bodies, and each hatch actually has, or actually like the bed is one body, but it has a bunch of shapes, and each hatch has like two shapes. That's like a piece here, and it has another piece there, and then the arm has a whole bunch more actually. So it has like these fingers here have I think two shapes. Looks like there's this very piece at the end, and then this piece here, and then the arm is made up of like, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bodies. Yeah. And then they are individually modeled in Blender. So if we go and take a look at what what the thing looks like in Blender. Ripper Truck Blend happens to be here because I actually just finished this like a few days ago. So this thing has just like a bunch of different objects. We have the main body itself. We have the entire interior of the main body, which is kind of like almost like work in progress still. We have the bed, we have the hatches. Then we have just like a whole bunch of things here on the side. We have the wheels, we have the wheel assembly, we have the suspension springs. These two pieces, and then there's the actuator, which is this thing here, which lifts up the bed. You can do this, but blah 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 blah. So yeah, a whole bunch of different pieces that the engine then puts together. That's right. Okay. So this guy. To get this into the HUD, we need to export it as an animation. Now Moho, this is Moho, this animation tool that I've used to animate this. Let's make sure it's 40 frames long, and I think this is at 60. Yeah, it's 60 frames per second. The width and height is 1K, so that's like this box here. But if we don't export it as like a video, we should be able to see those, even though they sort of go outside of the border. We should be able to see it. So if we export the this preview animation, which this creates like a video of that thing, and this now uses the actual. This now uses the actual. Oh, this is like. Interesting. Anyway, this uses the actual borders and everything here. We don't want to export it as a video. We want to export it as a series of SVG files. Yeah. Stop. Come on. Is it gonna keep doing this? It is. Oh, annoying. So here we have radio ping animation. This is the thing that I am looking at. Let's add a folder for this called SVG export. So we're going to want to export all of the frames from this guy. As SVG files. So SVG, overwrite existing files. We don't have any yet, but yeah, SVG export. I've used kind of like the same naming convention before. Let's export that. Let's see what we have. So here we have all of the animation frames, starting with like this one, and we go through it with where there's the ring, the ping ring. Yeah, here it actually goes outside of the borders. Again, this shouldn't really hurt us, because we're not actually going to be rendering any SVG in the game. We just use the SVG to convert to our own format. And I looked at this previously. Yeah, it's animations. It's right here. So we have a few animations. For example, the whole intro thing, where like if you played the build, there's this intro where you're sort of flying through the traction point text. That whole thing is like an animation animated in Moho, and it's 16 megs, and it's been SVG animation, which kind of sounds like it would still be SVG, but it's actually not. It's just my kind of name for that thing. we need to convert it into one of these guys. And I had a batch file for that somewhere. Here, convert. Let's copy that guy. And let's see what we have. So here's radio ping. I'm just gonna edit this guy. And so it looks something like this. Let's hope that is actually the relative path to this, but it should be. So we have a goopy SVG converter. SVG export is like the name of the folder, and we want this to be called radio ping, probably. The frame rate is 60. It was 60, right? Keep forgetting that. Yeah. End frame is 40. Frame rate is 60. Good. So let's save this. And if we now run this, we should get some output. So this all looks pretty good. 177K for the animation, and we do have it here, radio ping.bin svg animation. Cool. All right, that should be it then. Let's see if we can get it to show up in the game. If we're lucky, we can actually even hot update it to run in the game. So I'm gonna do this. This might not work, but let's see. We should actually have gotten it here as well. Yes. So here's the asset server. And we can see, yeah, here's the gripper truck stuff that we messed around with previously in the stream. HUD view. Yeah, I think HUD view is actually, this is something I've done previously. HUD view is exactly what we will want here. I'm gonna want to add this thing to the HUD view. Well, this is the path. Radio ping bin SVG animation. So HUD view is right here. And we should be able to just add the animation as like an image box here, for example, underneath this guy. Let's copy that, so or add it as a comment there, so I don't lose it. So let's do view, create image box with SVG animation, and here's where we want that path. With position, let's add it to, let's start by adding it to the center of the screen. So that would be 0.5, and UI pivot center. And then we have width. We can do width size, but I think I'm gonna want to have it unstretched. So unstretched width, probably like 0.5 as well. Change that as well. Then we do autoplay animation true, just to see if it actually plays, and loop animation also true. Alright, so now if we save this, hey, look at that, worked on the first try. And now we can move this guy around. So again, it's probably not going to sit in the center of the screen unless you actually, you know, are looking at the friend that you're communicating with. Basically, what will most likely happen though is that you won't have it looping. You will have it playing just once, and it should remain on the last frame, if I remember correctly. So if I now save this. Oh, actually, maybe it's looping by loop. Just set that to false. Yeah, there we go. So now it plays through, and then it remains on the last frame. So if I save this, it plays through once and remains on the last frame, like that. So that's basically what we want. So if we open the menu, we don't have any contacts. Okay, let's add some contacts. That one. We open this, and we want to talk to the scout in the shed. We press that, and at the same time this thing would fire, and then it will kind of show us that okay, the shed is over there. I think the scout in the shed is like right around. It's that one. Yeah. Okay, well that's nice. That worked actually almost better than I was afraid it would. So the rest is just code. Now we have this thing, and I think actually the size is even pretty good. You know, if we move this guy off to the side, actually I can just close that for the time being and make this really small and tight. If we move this guy to the where was it? It was right here, wasn't it? Point 1. Bloop. So now it pings from over here. It's still way too centered. Something like this, right? So this would it would ping here, and that would mean that like okay, you have to turn your camera, you know, that way to see it. Or 98, and now it's there on the other side. Yeah, that will work. That will work for sure. So now it remains to be seen how we actually want to hook this up from code. I was thinking previously about the fact that we have this vehicle switching icon. You can probably find it here somewhere in the HUD, right? Dialog line, drive gauge, vehicle info. Here we go. It's actually right above it. Vehicle switch marker bin SVG. And this thing is bound to a property. Bind position to property. Switch vehicle marker position. And we bind the visibility also to a property. Switch vehicle marker visible. Yeah, that's fine and everything, but the switch vehicle marker is very, very simple. It doesn't animate or anything. It just appears. I mean, we could animate it. That could be fine, and it could even be like a looping animation. In which case, we could just have it exactly like it is now. But still, that thing is just like it's just sitting there, and then it goes away when we drive too fast or we drive too far away from the vehicle, and if we drive closer to another vehicle, then it will jump to that instead. That's fine. That's very basic. We just basically, the HUD needs to know, is it visible, and if it is visible, where is it on the screen? While this other thing needs to know those things, but it also needs to know when to actually start the animation, and I don't think we can bind that to property. So we're gonna have to write some custom code for that, and if we do that, then we might as well just do the visibility and the position through code as well, rather than using properties for that, right? So how's the objective marker? Is that the thing actually? HUD objective marker. That might be it, and that might be something that is much actually much closer to what we need to do with this guy. So HUD objective marker is right here, and it renders something. G-image. There's G-image. Just want to show it to me. Objective marker bin SVG. Yeah, I think this is exactly what we want. Yep. It calculates the position. There's a little bit of a margin from the edge of the screen. Yep. All of this checks out. Float test mission. We should get that thing again. It's supposed to be somewhere around here, right? There we go. Actually, it appears at the center of the edge there. Yeah, we can use basically exactly this. We can basically copy paste that module and make a new module for it, which is like radio ping module, radio indicator. And we can use the same position calculation code and even like probably even the very similar sort of. Actually, we kind of just need that, right? Render unstretched, I think. Yeah. Yeah, this will work. Okay, good. And on the HUD level, on the HUD script, what is that thing? It's probably just a canvas. Yeah. So previously, when we did this image box thing here, we can set that to looping again. And now it's pinging there in the corner. So previously, when we did this, we used an image box, and an image box is really handy if you just want to do something like this. You have an image or even an animation like this, and you just want to show it or play it continuously or once. But if you want something slightly more complicated, where it like goes away and is shown and all of that, then it might be better just to have a canvas. And the canvas is basically just like a handle into the UI system, where you're like, okay, I have a position, I have a size, and I want to do all of the rendering myself. So we can see all of the things that we have here in the HUD. Most of the things are actually hidden now. We can see here this HUD objective marker. This is basically exactly what we're going to do with that radio ping there. But if we drive to, or if we drive up to one of these other guys, then we're going to see some stuff here in the interaction prompt. Like blip. Oh no, what happens? That's not good. Did we find a bug? Kinda looks like it. Oh, that was probably just some stuff that had broken here when we reloaded the script all over again. That's not good though. Good evening, Wookie. Welcome back. And Sasa Lokis asks, what graphics library do you use? I use a number of graphics libraries. Which library might you be referring to? If you're asking about the how I draw these graphics on the screen, I use Nano VG for that. All the UI is drawn with Nano VG. Well, not all of it. Not the. Well, this is obviously like ImGUI, right? This stuff is ImGUI. These texts and this console and everything, that's just my own code. But like the customer facing UI, so like this pause menu here, for example, and this pinging radio thing and these gauges and everything, they're drawn using NanoVG, a small little vector library thingy, which is very handy. So that's that. Or if you're asking actually what graphics API I'm using, which I don't know if you are, but if you are, I'm using NVRHI, this thing. But then of course there's like a whole renderer built on top of it. Righty-o. Alright, we have Blender open. Let's shut Blender down. And I think we can even probably... Actually, maybe I'll keep this around if we want to make some changes to our animation. That's entirely possible. It might be that we want to like have the... If we make this... I'm gonna save this now so that I don't break it. Save. If we make this like 80, or even longer, something like 240. Right? We have this ping at the beginning, and when the ping has pinged its pinging, we might want to actually have this icon go away after a while. Maybe not. Maybe I'll actually keep it. Maybe I'll actually keep it kind of visible. Hey Nolram. Okay, I'll bump up the mic. Actually, you know what? Is this better? Hello, hello. I think I actually probably just, because like I'm looking at my OBS settings here. Like, first of all, thanks for notifying me. But I'm looking at my OBS settings here, and I'm already kind of in the yellow, so I probably want to. Maybe I'll actually bump up the. Let's see if I can bump up the volume from OBS, like the gain here a little bit, right? Let's. Okay, I'm gonna do a thing. Let me know if this completely breaks the audio. So. Okay, that's just percentage, right? Okay. So I'm gonna bump this up to 3 decibel, and let's see if that actually makes a difference. Is this better? Is this too loud? Or is this good if I talk like this? Let's bring the music down a little bit. All right. So if I speak like this for the rest of the stream, is that good or is it not? That's good. Okay, let's keep going like this, and again, notify me if stuff isn't what they should. Decided to join your Discord after a couple of years of last using Discord. What the hell happened to Discord? Well, I haven't been on Discord for very long. Actually, I've been on Discord for a few years, but my Discord hasn't been a thing for very long. If I were to venture a guess, I would say it's probably like the general enshittification of everything, right? But thanks for joining. Let's hope it's not too terrible of an experience for you. Right, so what we're seeing here is kind of like more perhaps representative of what the ping in the HUD will actually look like when we see it. rather than pinging all the time. It kind of pings when you activate it, and then it will stay there. And I was thinking that maybe we'll want to have some sort of fade at the end. But now I'm actually thinking that maybe we don't want that. Maybe I'll actually keep it. I'll keep it at what was it, 40? I'm just gonna revert this thing now. I'm scared. Where's revert? I can't revert. Why can't I revert? Now I can revert. Yeah, Moho is a bit strange. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it like this because like we can play through this. We can play through this just once. So play through it and then just, you know, keep the thing on the screen. This looks very pixelated now, but you can actually sort of zoom into it. Yeah, Moho does this thing where it just like pixelates everything. Rest assured it's actually not pixelated in the actual final outcome or output. Do you have any comments about the Stop Killing Games petition? Oh boy, I'm gonna get thrown in hot water here. I'm gonna say this. Ross is an awesome guy, and you should all go watch his comedy sketches on his YouTube channel, Cursed Farms. Things like Freeman's Mind and that sort of stuff. I really like his video. I really like him as a content creator and a YouTuber and a comedian. That's probably unrisky to say, right? Yeah, I don't know. I have signed that thing. I do believe it's a better thing to have it go through than not have it go through. But of course, it doesn't mean that even if it gets all the signatures it needs, that stuff will happen the way sort of people expect them to. But I do believe it is a good thing that like these issues are raised to at least made aware of at like the political level where people can go like, is this actually good or not? But yeah, I did sign it, and that is all I'm gonna say about that, at least right now. Now I'm gonna go get a glass of water, and then I'm gonna start coding this thing so that we can actually get this working today. Be back in a bit. Alrighty, we are back. So, just like I said previously, I think I'm gonna basically copy paste this HUD objective marker and make like a radio marker, maybe is the correct term to use here for it. Let's copy paste that and let's just name it HUD radio marker, like this. So what do we have? This means actually used. It is used. Okay. Load SVG image. That might have to be something else. Why is my go-to not working? Let's actually shut this thing down, just like completely, and see if it helps if I restart the thing completely. Thinking my ZLS is somehow borked. Well, that's disappointing. What? So ZLS is actually crashing. ZLS language server crashed 5 times in the last 3 minutes, so it will not be restarted. Okay, then we're gonna do one thing. We're gonna close everything, close all. Sometimes you have a what? Oh, Visual Studio Code is updating itself. That sometimes happens. Yes. Okay. Yeah, has that ever happened to you guys? You close Visual Studio Code and then you want to start it again, and Windows goes like, no, that shortcut has been removed. You know, like what? Yeah, Visual Studio does some sort of thing. Start the server, please. Would you open it for me? You won't. I don't wanna debug ZLS today. Come on. Let's at least get rid of all the. Yeah, okay. It clearly like it doesn't even run. Mm-hmm. I wonder, am I running actually some custom version of that? Now we get to debug ZLS, guys. How about that? I was gonna make some flashy HUD things today. Now we get to work on this instead. Yeah, I don't use a custom one. It's using it here from my app data folder. Okay. So what if we go in here and we find an earlier version of this, 9th of July, that's yesterday. So let's use this one instead. Let's do copy as path, set that as the path. Yeah, it's not valid, blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Okay, is that valid? Is that valid? And can I start it? I can. Look at that. So, and now everything works again. Okay, so it seems like ZLS had run into some issues the latest version of CLS had run into some issues. Luckily, you can use whatever version you want. Gigadit asks, what graphics library did you learn first? See, I don't know what you mean by graphics library. Are you talking about like graphics API? Is that what you're talking about? Like OpenGL, Direct3D, Vulkan, Glide? Is that what you mean by graphics library? Or do you mean like a library built on top of those things? Like BGFX or Ogre or what? If you mean like library built on top of the graphics API, then I would say like Ogre is one of the earliest ones that I actually made something with. If you mean graphics API, then I probably learned like Direct3D 8 or maybe 9. Direct3D 9 I actually made quite a lot of stuff with, and Direct3D 9 had a very cool thing called Managed Direct3D back in the day. Let's see if Managed DirectX. This thing is probably what I used to make like my first proper things with. This was actually even before I learned about Ogre. This is no longer a thing, and it hasn't been for a long time. This actually kind of morphed into XNA. Yeah, MDX is deprecated for XNA Game Studio Express, which I guess is also sort of deprecated, but of course there's like follow-ups to this guy. This would probably be D3D9. Provides an object-oriented API. Implements functionality very similar to DirectX 9. I guess you could maybe say DirectX 9 is like the first one I really kind of... Not necessarily the first one I used, but the first one I really like made things with. Okay. We are back on track. What does this thing do? Load SVG image. It acquires a resource and then it gets the an SVG image pointer, and then it loads an image. Okay, but this probably won't work because we have an animation. Hey Marcus, welcome back. Welcome. So the question is, of course, like, does the image actually handle animations as well? It might actually do that. I don't remember anymore. There doesn't really seem to be any play function here, for example. Pub fn play. Transform animation, image box. Yeah, but that's a goofy image box. It is. This is actually probably how we play that ping in the HUD currently. But okay, that's fine. Now we'll go to C++ instead and look at the image box. Goofy UI image box is what it's called. And this thing has, if you remember from previously, we used like loop animation and autoplay animation. Autoplay animation just probably means that this is read somewhere. And we do, okay, SVG animation player. That sounds promising. Is that something? Yes, we do have an SVG animation player. Okay, do we use this anywhere? We do. Okay, good. Animation player. Good. Okay, so we create one of these guys. We initialize them. This basically creates like the C++ counterpart of it. Then we load the animation from the data file, and this we can use this exact code to load the animation. Delta time limit enabled. We don't really need that. That's mostly for things like the loading screen where the thread can just block for long periods of time. Then we call play on it. But how do we... What? Oh, here we go. This is what I want. So we wanna render it, and we can probably do render unstretched. Yes. So this is how we then get it onto the screen. Good. Good. Goody. This will work. Okay. So we're gonna want a little bit of the objective marker stuff, and we're gonna want a little bit of this loading screen UI. Let's see. Nolver has some issues with VS Code. Unity builds. Opening issues on Microsoft Reaper is one of my least favorite things to do. Yeah. I remember this Casey Muratori rant about like opening an issue for some Visual Studio thing that he had opened, and he was very upset with how they handled that. That was a fun rant. Okay. Right. We can take away some of this stuff here. This symbol font handle, don't need that, and we can get rid of this entire thing. Symbol font glow. So it's basically that guy. No need to do anything there. Coolio. I'm gonna keep this calculate position function basically as it is. There's a little bit of commented stuff here. Maybe we can tweak it later if we need to. So now that we have ZLS again working, let's open a new window and go to means UI. So in here we need to add this thing now to the HUD. So this is what we created previously. Comment that out. Create a new canvas. View.create canvas. I'm gonna give it a name with name HUD radio marker, right? With size, we can make the size very small because we're really essentially not gonna care about it. So Goofy worked in a slightly, well, goofy way. In the sense that like its widgets have a size, but the size is just sort of like a suggestion of, hey, you might want to stay inside of this. It doesn't enforce it at all. With things like canvases, you can just draw outside of the size if you want to, which is very handy. But you kind of need to know that. So we can just make the size very small, like a non-zero size, which is very small, and that is essentially sort of like the position that we're going to play this thing at. So get rid of that. I'm going to take this path and we're going to save that guy. And I think that is basically the only thing we need to do. So here, rather than having the image, we're going to want one of those animation players. What was the exact name I used? HUD radio marker. So I'm gonna get the canvas with this. So from the HUD view, we get a widget of type canvas pointer with name HUD radio marker. It returns an optional canvas. I'm gonna make sure that we actually have that, and then store it here. Canvas pointer. Yeah, that's not really how I do that these days. I do it like this. That's much nicer. And we're gonna do the same thing here in the objective marker, which we copied that thing from, like so. So let's take the loading screen is where I had this loading animation player. So I'm going to move this off to the side so that I can see a bit better. And then we're going to do some stuff. Actually, yeah, this is also stuff that I need to fix up. Some very old things here. And I don't really need to do this undefined anymore. I can just use null here. I've changed this API slightly since I wrote this loading screen stuff. So that looks better. Loading animation player, yeah. So now I can move that to the side. And we'll, instead of having the image, we actually have the animation player. Maybe anim player is good enough for that. So, right. Let's copy all of this stuff from the loading screen and plonk it in here. So we have the animation data file, UI animation loading. Maybe we'll want to have actually like that can just be means.ui constants. Let's see, animation resource file paths. So let's actually put this here. UI HUD radio radio ping, right? Path, maybe that should be path. Maybe this should be path as well. I don't know. Radio ping animation path. And the path is this guy. And we'll add them there. So we can use that instead. So now we have the resource. And I basically just want to do this. I want the source location assert, like so. And then we release it, or we defer releasing it, because we'll be doing all of this. So we load the animation. And yeah, like I said, I don't think we need that, and we don't want looping. Specifically, don't want looping. That's good. And then in the deinitialization, we need to de-init this animation player, and that should release all the stuff. Right. And then we have an active. Or an update, sorry. We have an update. And here is where we want to actually tick this, or I think it's called update, yes. Oh, we need a delta time for that. Well, let's get a delta time going then. Shall we? So maybe add that as the first parameter. That seems like a good thing. And delta time like so. And what then? Then we have the rendering. Hey Poseidon, welcome back. Right, so animation player. If we want to do the same thing we did there previously by just messing around in the HUD, we're going to want to do render unstretched. Pass it the context, The position is that, right? Canvas base position. Width is, yeah, width would be 0.5, I think. 0.5 and center. And I think that's it. Oh, we can't do 0.5, we have to do 0.5. I think that's it. I think that's all we need to do here. The rendering is really simple here on the code level. All right, let's go with that. That's good. So, what do we have? We have an update, and this update is kind of like considering like, okay, if we're not visible right now, we're gonna set ourselves to be visible, and then set this G visible to true. So the sort of API here, if you will, is an update function and a hide function. Those come from the HUD objective marker. I'm not sure if that is really how I want to handle it this time around, but we can start with that at least. And then take all of those things away. So kind of starts as not being visible, and that's completely fine. We don't actually want that. And setting this canvas to not be visible basically means that this render function doesn't fire, which is exactly what we want. Yeah, we need to hook that up though somehow. How was it hooked up previously? Right, it's here. Canvas, base visible false, set render callback. We don't do that anymore. That's not good. We need to do all of those things. So we get the canvas here from this optional. Again, I want one of these guys, like so. We set it to false, and then we set the render callback to be render. Okay. That's fine. So, then we need to throw this into the HUD, or is it actually perhaps called something like in-game? See, in-game menu, in-game UI view model. Here we can see that we have, among other things, we have the objective marker there. So let's again do this. We have the radio marker. Radio marker, and then we can basically search for this guy. So update. Yeah, this thing probably handles like all of the logic basically. We have an init here, so we can do the same thing here. HUD radio marker G client G HUD view HUD radio radio marker D init and hide. Yeah, why not? HUD radio marker hide, and then the rest of the logic is all here in one place for this objective marker. So right, let's try this. Let's just use it to see if we can actually render this thing. And I'm gonna just point it at the world origin currently, which is basically like underground in the test level. So I'm gonna do HUD radio marker update delta time World position would be just vec3. Okay, basis math. Vec3 0, and camera is camera, isn't it? Camera's right there. Like so. See if we can build this. And if we can, then maybe we'll set the looping to true to make sure that it gets updated properly. If we can see it now, it should point somewhere basically underground. And oh, that's not good. Oh, that's not good. What's happening? Load animation, okay. I bet we haven't actually initialized this to a new player. Let's see, loading screen. Yeah, that part is missing. We can do it maybe right before here. Because we're essentially like wrapping a C++ object inside of this Ganim player, we need to call like the equivalent of a C++ new on it. And then we can load the thing. Oh, still doing something. Right, we don't have a camera probably. Yeah. Let's see. It would be in here, wouldn't it? In game. UI view model. Yeah, this might be a null pointer. So if we're not null, then let me do the update. Otherwise, hide radio marker hide. This is not code I'm gonna keep around like this part. This is just a hack here to see that we can actually see the thing on the screen. And then we're gonna have to figure out what we actually want that interface to look like. Rightio. So refinery. Okay, we have the thing there. Okay, good, and it is pointing underground, just like I said. So that would be the world origin. That probably makes sense. I think it's probably like in the middle of the main terrain. I think it's just where the world origin is in this level. Let's toggle the fog off for a bit. And just fly very high up into the sky. You can see that the main terrain is right about there. So that seems to be working. And we can see it is following along the side of the screen. So that's neat. Now you might be wondering, why is it not playing? And you know, at least I am wondering that. And that is probably because we just haven't started it, right? So let's do something like this. Let's do Ganim player play here. And I do wonder if we actually rewind to the beginning. Let's maybe add a stop here in this hide. Get state. Paused, played to the end, playing, or stopped. Okay, so let's do like, if it is not stopped, then oh, right. If it is not stopped, then stop it. I think it probably has a check there, actually inside of this stop. It's probably safe to do it anyway, but I don't necessarily want to call it into C++ if I don't have to, except I think this one does as well. Yeah, that one does as well. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna change the launch. Let's go with that one. Launch settings here to go directly into the game. Hey, and there's a radio ping. Pingily pong. It's pinging happily, and I might add, kind of annoyingly. And of course, we won't be doing this all the time. At least you don't really miss it, right? There's a very small chance you will actually miss it. Yeah. I remember there being something a little hairy with that math that tracks it along the screens, but it kind of looks like it's working pretty nicely. Okay. That's nice. So, then we need to somehow drive it. Right. And by driving it, I mean we need to let it know when it is time to be shown, and when it is time to go away. So, how would we do that? So the point here, the idea was that as long as we have sort of like a whoop. That's not what I want. As long as we have a target here, like a conversation with someone open in this menu, we would show this thing and ping it only once. So if you go away and then come back, it would ping again, and it would show you where on the screen your you know, target of conversation is. So first of all, I think we're gonna probably need to have a position for this thing, similarly to what we have for this guy here, like this switch target. You can probably use the switch target position for now, but sooner or later we're going to want to have a separate position for that, because it is possible that you are talking to someone who is standing right next to you, and it might want to or have to show both of those icons at the same time. Yeah, that constant pinging is super annoying. To get rid of that, let's set the looping to false. Actually, probably that one as well. I think we need probably like a specific, like a dedicated show function here. Another thing which is kind of interesting is, of course, the fact that like do we have a rewind function for this? Oh, we can set current time. That will probably work. We just set that to. Yeah, we have all kinds of things. Jump to end, set looping, update, get states, get current time, set current time. Okay, I've been busy. Good, good, good. So we'll want to set current time and then call play. Yeah, it quite simply just sets the current time to whatever you set it to. Good. That looks good. Okay. So, how does the radio work? I remember the radio code being a little confusing, even to me, who actually wrote it. So let's see if we can figure this out. Radio, HUD radio menu, HUD radio manager. Com radio contact, and then there's the actual com radio manager. And I think this guy is probably a so-called client-server. Yeah, client-server manager. Client-server manager is sort of like a, almost as if you had a singleton in like C++ terms. But it's not the singleton, it's more like a dualton, because you have a client pointer and a server pointer. Right. Anyway, this dude, the com radio manager, is the thing that keeps track of who you are talking to. Isn't that the case? Get contacts list. Contact request, ongoing contact requests. Get available radio com radio contacts. Oh no, actually, it is probably the com radio component. Yeah, I think it's probably this guy actually who should be showing that, isn't it? On the client. Maybe it's not. This is confusing. On com radio message sent. I don't think this code is necessarily bad. It's just that like it's a little complex. The system is a little complex, and it's like it's networked and it's asynchronous and it's all kinds of difficult. Right. So here we actually, yeah, this is not it. This is actually just the thing that handles what you should do. Like here's the move here, for example. This is the code that gets run when someone tells this object that this component belongs to, hey, move here. And it gets a pointer to the sender, because the sender is like, hey, move to me, right? And then it goes and gets the world transform out of that, and so on, and checks if it actually can't. If it actually can't move there, then it plays a radio bark. Hey, I can't move there. Blah blah blah. Okay. but that's not what we're interested in, actually. Let's find this one instead. Yeah, send radio message is that. And I bet if we find this somewhere, in-game menu logic. What is this guy? Com radio logic. Yeah, this sounds promising. Yeah, here we go. Select contact, select message. Exactly. So the com radio menu state has two states currently, or three, I guess, if you can consider like not being visible one. But select contact and select message. So we want to actually, when we go from select contact into select message, we want to play that ping, right? So, if we load vehicles, you open this up, this is select contact. And then we click on a contact, and now we are in select message. So when we go from one to the other, yeah, that is the place. I actually want to play that ping. Right here, selected contact. If we are on the client, we actually set some properties here. So here is basically like to do play, or like show and play radio marker. Right. Now the interesting thing here is, of course, like we don't want a contact index like this thing is working with. We actually want like a world position, or maybe we actually want a game. Actually, yeah, we don't want a world position. We want a game object pointer, so that we can tell the radio marker, hey, follow this guy, show this icon on top of this guy. That's what we want. Do we actually work with game objects here at all? Maybe not. Yeah, it doesn't really look like we do. Contact ID. So if we have a contact ID, then we can get the contact, and out of the contact we can get the component, and we can probably get even or we can for sure actually get the game object out of that. Yes. Okay, do we have a function for that? Post init. Yeah, it doesn't look like we do, but we can add that. So let's see. Is this thing actually working with game objects at all? Yeah. So when we register a contact here, when a vehicle goes, hey, I have a radio, I want to hook into the radio system, it calls this register contact and passes its radio component to it. You can probably find that somewhere. Yep, here we go. Register contact self. Passes itself to the com radio manager on the server. and gets back contact ID. That's unfortunate, because we need this thing on the client. Oh, why is network programming so hard? Why is network programming always so hard, so difficult? So basically we have the information we need, but it's sitting on the wrong side of the wire. Play radio bark. That's probably on the client, though, isn't it? No, it's not. Assert that we are not on the client. Yeah, the whole thing basically just runs on the server, and then we just use like an RPC. RPC play bark. Self play bark. Yeah, then it comes back here, and then it goes play radio menu sound blah blah blah. Okay. Yeah, this needs a little bit of figuring out. So I think the way that I kind of intended these things to be handled here is we will drive the logic completely on the server side, because if we go back to the in-game menu logic right here, we actually run this thing here on the server as well. Com radio manager, play radio bark, com radio greeting. So we could have this com radio manager handle the whole thing. We would initiate it on the server, and it would communicate with itself on the client, because this com radio manager, as we looked at previously, is one of these client server managers. So it has like essentially one instance on the client and one instance on the server, and they can communicate with each other over RPC. So so that could work. And that is the place where we actually want to show this marker. Then we also have a couple of places where we want it to go away, because we only want to show it for as long as we are in this state select message. Send radio message, right? Okay, so we send the actual message, or we go back. How do we go back to the previous one, previous state. Yeah, it's probably that one actually. Yeah, so it's basically here. To do hide radio marker. Right, that's one thing, and then the other is here. Maybe after that one, and then the showing would be here. Show radio marker. And it all happens on the server. So show the radio marker there when we go from select contact to select message. Right around the corner where we go like, okay, com radio greeting, play that. Then we show the radio marker. And then if we actually ask someone to, like, for example, come to me, this is where we send that radio message. Here is also where we want to hide the marker, because we're essentially no longer communicating with that guy, right? We've told them what we want, and now they are no longer on the horn. And here, same thing. Go to previous state. If we go back to, like, oh no, that's not the person we want to talk to. We want to go back to the previous one. Also hide the radio marker here. Let's try that and see what happens. So, do something like this. Pub function. Show radio marker self contact ID. Seems to be a U32. Hide radio marker self void, and let's implement them in a second. Right. And we're gonna have to do quite a bit of fun engineering here. Let's just say, because we actually need to call this over an RPC to the client, and the client, or rather the RPC system is very bare bones in Zig still. I have to do this seldom enough that I haven't really fully created my RPC support for Zig, which means that we're gonna have to actually translate some code from C++. I'm gonna show you in a bit what I mean by that. So we're gonna do com radio manager, server pointer, hide radio marker. Same thing here. Take those away. And here is show radio marker contact ID. And we're going to implement something that is, well, at least for this hide marker function, something that is I do kind of often. Which is like a function that calls itself on the other side of the network if, well, we'll see what happens actually. Sometimes when you call a function on the server, what actually happens is that the function sort of initiates an RPC to itself on the client. That's something that can be very handy in many situations. And so let's see if we can find one of those cases here. RPC proxy. I think it was Bark Manager which does it. Yes, Bark Manager actually does it. So if you call this play bark function on the client, it plays a bark. Bark is one of those like one-off randomly selected radio messages that like you ask someone to come to you, for example, and then the character goes like, yeah, sure thing. That would be a bark. And so if you call this on the client, then we play that bark, get the bark data, we send a message, and then we play the radio, close radio sound effect if the bark doesn't actually have any audio yet. But if you call this thing on the server, it actually calls itself, so RPC underscore play bark, and play bark is this function here, so it calls this thing on the server, which makes the RPC system call this thing on the client. Yeah, it's a little convoluted, but that's just like a way to have an API which is like, yeah, you can call this on the client and it will do its thing. You can also call it on the server and it will sort of like magically call its thing, essentially. But you want to be kind of careful with that. We can do it with things like this, where it just like plays some audio, but you don't really want to do this with things that like track a lot of state or something like that, because that might get a little bit it can be a little buggy if this call happens in like an inopportune time. So I wonder if this is something that we'll want to actually use here in this. So hide radio marker. One thing that immediately comes to mind when I look at this is that like we don't want to hide the radio marker for all the players. Like, remember, we're sort of making this game as if we are making a multiplayer game, because I want to keep these systems sort of working in a multiplayer setting as well. I'm sure there's some bugs here because I haven't tested it in a while. But that's sort of like the idea. Let's try to have it work in a multiplayer fashion, at least to some extent. And if we just hide radio marker on the server, that would sort of imply that like all the players' radio markers should be hidden, and that's not necessarily the case. So how does this actually work? In-game menu logic has an instance of that. Okay, I see. So this is actually part of a vehicle avatar component. Right, so each vehicle has its own in-game menu logic. Okay, makes sense, which means that each vehicle also has its own com radio menu logic. And that's fine. I do, however, feel that like some of these might not actually be multiplayer safe currently. Its current form. So that's a bit meh. Yeah, let me just have a think about this. This might be just like a much easier thing that I'm making it out to be. So this is really only a client-side thing. The server doesn't actually have to know about that at all, right? It just shows the position of something that the client knows about, and the client knows, well, actually annoyingly little about which guys you're communicating with over the radio, but we could maybe make it a bit more aware of that. And so it would be nice if we don't really have to involve the server like a whole lot in all of this. Because obviously the HUD element is purely client side. Let's see, vehicle avatar component. This has the in-game menu logic. In-game menu logic has a function, or rather the COM radio manager has sorry, no, not that one. In-game menu logic has COM radio menu logic, this thing. COM radio contact. Yeah, I think what we can do here is actually pretty easy in the end. So this guy gets a list of radio contacts from the server, right? Get available COM radio contacts. Yeah, okay. I'm starting to understand this now again after a while. So vehicle avatar component. This is something that all the vehicles that can be the player's avatar have. And if we are the avatar on the client, then we are hooking up here for the COM radio manager, get available radio contacts. When we are the avatar, we want to immediately know what are the radio contacts that this guy can talk to, and we get that list through on available COM radio contacts received. Right? And we get a slice, a constant slice of COM radio contacts. And then we store them somewhere, and we store them actually in the COM radio logic radio contacts here. And this is the place where we actually already had these show marker, hide marker things, which I will now take away because I don't think we'll want to go down that route after all. let's take away those functions as well. Instead, what I want to do is, in this comRadio contact type, I'm going to add the string name hash, so name hash for the game object that this comRadio is represented by. That should be a good thing to have, because if we do that, then when we get the list of contacts, we know which object they sort of point to. That's completely fine, and that will never change, because like we saw previously, we have register contact, and register contact actually stores the pointer to the comRadio component for that object. So that object is not going to change, because we actually store a pointer to it. Yeah, that should work. Okay, I'm sorry, this is confusing. It's confusing to me, so I bet it's confusing to you as well. Good news is that this should actually be kind of easy to solve now. So let's go to the top of this file, add a comRadio contact field here, which we call game object name hash basis string hash. Oh, string hash. And we need to initialize that to something, so let's set it to 0. We probably need to fill in all of these places like so. And then this is we serialize it and deserialize it, which is to say we can send a list of these guys over the network. So let's do that. Messages is there, right? So then we do self dot game object name hash is stream dot get int, and it's a U32, or it's a string hash really, but the string hash is a U32. I guess we can probably use a U30, or just a string hash there, like so. And here we do stream put int basis string hash self dot game object name hash, like so. That should be good. And get contacts callback. What's that called? Get available radio contacts. Resolve available contacts for host. Yeah, register contacts is just there. Okay, good. So messages, for example, this is something that should be filled in when we register the host, I guess. Or register contact. Isn't it ID comp? No? Right here, okay, yes, here it is. Here's what I'm trying to find. So contact dot game object name hash is e.comp dot get That's actually context get game object get name hash. A lot of pointer chasing there, unfortunately. Okay. Yeah, that should do it. That should do it. And now the nice thing with this is now we can do the rest of the thing on the client. So if we go into the in-game menu logic, here, actually rather here, is where we can show the radio marker. And here is probably here's probably a place where we want to actually do context on client and add this to do there, and then that can just be an else. Yeah, does that prev state actually run on the client? It looks to be good on client, so that's where we want to hide radio marker. Okay, I'm hoping this is the correct place. Let's actually print this now. So let's do basis print show radio marker hide radio marker, and same thing here. Just to see we get the actual proper outputs or prints there for all the different cases. This got way more complicated than I was thinking and hoping it would. I was thinking we would have issues actually getting the animation on the screen, but that was actually super easy. That's not a problem at all. Okay, so where's the output? There's the output. Blah 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 blah. Load test vehicles. There we go. So now if we select Ripper truck, we should see show in show radio marker. When we do, show radio marker is there. If I ask the Ripper to move here, we should also show, no, rather we should show hide radio marker. And we do. Good. That's nice. Let's open it again. Another one, show radio marker. And if I now do back, we get hide radio marker. Yes, that works. What do you think about singletons and the hate they receive? Do you use them a lot or not? Well, singletons are essentially just global data, right? Singletons are global data that kind of looks like it might not be global data, but it actually is. So all the problems that come with global data, you also have with singletons. It was very popular a few years ago to like give singletons a lot of hate. Some of it deserved, some of it undeserved. I think people have, like in general, in the correct places, shall we say, a lot of people have gone back to just using global data more and more again. Like in the object-oriented period, it was very much like, no, you should never have global data. Everything should be a class. Everything should be encapsulated. And then at some point people started realizing that, oh, there are actually just things that are global in a program. Or, I mean, there may be. It's not uncommon for there to actually just be global data. So, you know, it can be global. It doesn't need to be wrapped in something. It can just be global. And the singleton is basically just global data that kind of tries to not look like global data. So it depends a little bit. My use of singletons these days are either things that are quite simply global in some sense, or I have cases like I showed previously where there's like, it's not really a singleton, it's more like a dualton, right? Because I have a client and server representation of, you know, a concept which is like global data, if that makes sense. Like, we have a com radio manager here. This com radio manager serves more than one client. If you have two players playing the game, both of them can use it. But it is still sort of like the concept of there is a com radio manager. It happens to be like distributed over the network. And so it is essentially kind of like a singleton in the sense that like this guy is a client server manager of a com radio manager. So it's just wrapped up in a type that has two pointers like this. And this is actually very close to a singleton, in the sense that you have a single pointer essentially that you go through. Just happens that we actually have two, and you kind of need to know where on the network you are. Like to actually use it, but you can use like these helper functions like get by context. So if you have a script component here, for example, you have like a campaign manager, which is again sort of like a singleton, not really, but kind of. And you can do get by context, and you pass it the context, and this like selecting the correct one is all wrapped up in that thing, and then you can ask the campaign manager, is it active? So this is kind of like a singleton. I use this sort of thing every now and then. But yeah, I've worked with code bases that had like way too many singletons. Like everything was a singleton, just because it was easy to use. You could just you could access everything from everywhere. That sort of singleton use is really bad. You don't want that. Like I've worked with code bases. I've worked with like actual shipped commercial games that you would see on consoles and PCs and everything. Mobile games too, probably also. And they had like singletons that, you know, they referred to themselves through their singleton pointer. Like absolutely stupid things. And clearly like copy-paste things that, you know, people have moved code around. But you know, if you had a method like this, right? This is Zig. I know this is not C++, but like let's pretend this is C++, and it would go like, rather than going like, you know, this value is true, something like that. It would go like get singleton value is true, stuff like this. And obviously, like when you're at that level, then you're kind of screwed. Right. Let's see then. In-game menu logic. So we need to show the radio marker. We got these prints at the correct place, so that's good. What we can do now is basically out of the contact ID, or rather we have I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, how this would even work. We have this game object name hash here, name hash. If we want to show the radio marker, we have this guy, selected contact index. I'm hoping this is, by the way, it's actually updated. Yes, it is. It's written right here before this thing. Good. So we have game object name hash. Out of the game object name hash, we can get the game object. But for that to work, we would need to have the game state. So let's see. Probably can actually get that as well. Game state, first of all, we're not using it here anywhere. Okay, that's fine. We can probably get it. Game state is self.context get game state. And out of the game state, we can get game object by name hash. Name hash. Right? Go. So now we have the game object. And now we can print basis print f contact name, and we can print this as a string, and we're going to print not the ID or another name that shows up there in the radio menu, but we actually want the get name, and we only want that if you know go is not null. So let's make sure that works. In-game UI view model, is this thing actually using the game state for something? Yes, it is getting the game state. Yeah, this is the thing we actually looked at previously. Here's our hacky code to make that thing just sit at 0. Okay, that's actually good. That means that we can use the same game state here that we're already getting for this to figure out the position. Yeah, this is good. This is gonna work. Okay. This is gonna work. So let's do a load test vehicles and open up and go like gripper truck. So gripper truck contact name is test vehicles gripper truck 1, and that should be the name of this guy, and it is. Good. Okay. Okay. So now we're actually nearing the end here of this farce. It's a farce, I tell you. So here we want to have a function which is quite simply called pubfn show radio marker, and we show the radio marker on an object, and we give it the name hash. So let's do it like actually let's just call it game object name hash is a basis string hash void and then pub fn hide radio marker. And again, we don't need to care about any like multiple players or anything like network related. This is all client side stuff. So all of that goes out the window. So yes. Maybe we should do a little bit of checking here before we do that. Get game state. If game state. And you might be wondering, okay, why don't I actually use like optionals here? That's what Zig is good with. Like, why do I have like an is null function here? And that is because this is actually a C++ pointer. Right. So, oh, you know what? We don't need to do this here. No. We don't even need to get the game state here at all. Instead, we do, let's see, in-game in-game menu logic probably. Or is it in-game UI view model? Yeah, it is in-game UI view model, but we don't necessarily. We don't really call this guy a whole lot like directly. Instead, what we do is we send a message, and the message is then picked up by this guy. Yes, so that's how we want to do this as well. Indeed. Good, good, good. Let's see, what is the... Probably like this one is probably HUD. Yeah, HUD messages. Indeed. Yeah, you get to see a whole lot. This is like a whirlwind tour of the whole engine here. So HUD messages. Let's add a message called show radio marker. Hide radio marker. And they will both be part of the HUD category. Like so. And here right after this guy we have means.gameMessages.gameMessage show radio marker as int. Actually, what we will want to do here is probably this. We want to do game object name hash parameters get uint, and then we have the other one, the hiding one, which doesn't take any parameters. It's just like, no, I just hide it, please. Hide it, please. That would be hide. Yeah, and that's how we want to drive this. We don't actually want functions for that. We don't need these guys. And that way we can quite simply send messages from other places. The UI view model can pick them up, but other things that might need them can also pick them up. If that is the case. So this thing probably sends some messages. Send message. No. Context. We don't actually send any messages here at all, but we can do it. So let's see. Self context. Send message with parameters. This is showing them, so we do need parameters for this one. It's called something like self context text alloc message params. Yeah, let's see how that normally looks like. Const p, yes. And we add a uint, so we package the name hash into that, and then we do self.context.send message with params, and the message is game. It's probably like means.game messages show radio marker, and we give it the pointer, which is just p. Yeah, exactly. And we can take all of that away. That's not relevant. And then for the hiding, we don't need any parameters for that, like we just said. So we can just do hide and send message without this part. Oh boy. This got complicated, but again, I think we're nearing the end here. So in-game UI view model. So now we're actually nearing the thing. Basically what we need to do here is just we need to store the string hash. So we need to do something very similar to what we have here actually. Objective marker object path hash. We have a radio marker object path hash. And we store that here, like so, and here we just set it to 0. I bet that's what I do with the other one as well. Yes, set it to 0 there. Good. And then here in the update, let's have a look. If this is not null, then we want to actually show it or update it. But we need the world position here. So let's have a look. We basically want to get the game state, which we can do here. So if game state is not null, first of all, without it we can't do either of these things. So take that and put it all into here. Now we don't need to check that one. We also need the camera for this thing. Right, so basically we can do that as well. We can get the camera. If camera isn't null, then we can do a whole bunch of things again. And now we no longer need the camera there. There we go. So we don't need to check that camera is null thing because we've already checked it. Right, so we can take that away. And we can take basically all of that away. So if we don't have a game state, we go here, we hide both of them. If we don't have a camera, go here, we hide both of them. If we have both a camera and a game state, we can go here. And if we advance the game time, then we can hide and unhide that one. I guess basically we can put that into the advanced game time as well. It doesn't really make any sense to update that if we don't advance the game time. What does that actually mean? It's probably that like we have a session and it's not paused. Yes, indeed. So, with the state, we can get the game object. We'll call that something like target, game state, radio marker, object path hash, world pos. Right, we need to check that that still. But let's just use the world position for now. Plug that in there. If target is null, there's probably some nicer way to do this than just having all of these else's here, but I can clean this up later. Kinda don't want to get stuck on that right now. Right? Something like that. Would that already work? I think it probably would. I think it probably would. Let's have a look. So loading some test vehicles and talking with the gripper truck. Look at that. Hey. Scouting shed, and now it shows that like, oh okay, it's in the shed. It's right over there. There it is. There he is. That's kind of nice. We could perhaps actually just add like a slight offset to that thing to make it appear above the vehicle. Now it's kind of annoyingly sort of, well, it's basically like underneath that guy. And this is what I said when I meant that like we need like an actual offset for this thing. Right, because the position for the truck is actually sort of like, well, yeah, as you can see, it's kind of like under the vehicle, while the position for a slope for a scout is kind of like in the middle of the vehicle. So we can't just apply like a single constant offset. We actually do need that. That specific position for the thing. It's a little unfortunate, but I guess it can't be helped. Okay, that's cool. Let's see if we can get the animation working still. So, basically what we want to do here is GAnimPlayer, set current time to 0, and then play it, right? And it's set to looping to false, so that should be good. Should just play the ping once. All right. All right. What do you guys think? Is this cool? I think it's pretty cool. Just that we need to offset the icon a little bit in screen space. That's kind of neat. I don't know why I haven't thought about this previously. Kind of see immediately which object you're talking to. Hello. All right, let's put in the offset there still. I think that's something that we'll want to have kind of immediately anyway. The vehicle avatar component, I think, is the one that has the offset isn't it? The switch offset thing. Where is that actually coming from? As it means vehicle component. I have so many of these guys. Switch marker position. Yes, this guy. Switch marker position. Get switch vehicle marker position. Interaction manager. Right. That's basically like that. And what does this thing do? Well, it transforms that position into world space. Okay. So if we add like a radio marker position here, basis math vec3, here we go. Here we still need to add it here. Radio marker position. And then we need to do get radio marker position. Actually, okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. Radio marker position, right? Something like that. Now we can use this guy inside of the in-game UI view model right here, and not get the world position, but actually get the let's see, target, or this actually needs to be an if. So if target get component means components means vehicle component, MVC or something like that, I guess. And here we do pos is MVC get radio marker position, right? Right, something like that. I think actually what we can do here is do like var objective marker visible false, and then radio marker visible also false, then if not objective marker visible, then we call hide, if not radio marker visible, we call hide on that. And then we can get rid of all of these else's. So this is like true, and that would be radio marker visible true, and then just get rid of all of these these things. Bye bye. And these ones as well. And then we can wrap the whole thing just to make it a bit more scoped. Okay. Good. That should be all the code we need. Now we just need to add those positions to the actual object types. And that of course is data. So let's go to basis, means, work folder root, metadata, and we go to means vehicle component, which is a TOML file, and we take this switch marker position, just add a radio marker position as well. Radio. The radio marker should appear, and that's called radio marker. Default is 0, that's good. We want it to be 0 for the objects that we don't actually set it up for. So I'm thinking that we'll want to have basically the same position as... Oh, this thing is somewhere off screen, is it? Hello. Blueprints. Vehicle blueprints. So let's define it for all the vehicles that we actually care about. We have mother. Let's add it maybe like 1 world unit above the switch position or something like that. So that would be 4. Gripper, I guess gripper. This is the old gripper. I guess it can also get 1. Why not? If we can find that means vehicle, here it is. 1.5, so that would be 2.5. Then we have a scout. I should really put in a search here for the components. But I'm thinking this thing will have to be redesigned anyway at some point, so I haven't put any effort into this in a while. And then the gripper truck. You can see just how utterly slow this thing is with loading this long list of things. Right, where's the means vehicle? It's right here. 2.7, so we'd make it 3.7. And let's see how that looks. So now those icons should appear above the vehicle. That's cool. Oh, you know what? We can't actually switch to it. Ah, that's annoying. Or I mean, well, it's not a problem, it's just that it's kind of unnecessary to have 2 of those things. When you can't actually switch to that vehicle when the menu is open. And that means that you can have them in the same place, no problem. Okay. Let's have them in the same place. It probably makes sense for now, at least, to have them in the same place. Let's see, where was the thing? Where was the thing? It's right there. I'm gonna keep that separate value there because it might be that we have to actually change how that works in the future, and that if that is the case, then it's a nice thing to have a separate place for those things already. Okay, guys, this was an exercise in patience, and I don't know what. And this thing, I think this turned out pretty well actually. It's kind of annoying to implement, after all. But I think this is cool. Let's play the actual mission a little bit, where we will actually we'll actually see this thing. I'm gonna disconnect that. So get rid of all the debug menus. And we can see how this actually plays. Alright, so we can just immediately contact mother and go like, hey, hello to you. Alright, that's cool. Let's see if the does that icon actually appear in the same place there? Yep. Wow, I think this animation actually works really well, if I may say so myself. I'm not a very experienced animator. I think it gives a nice sort of radio feel to the whole thing. So here's a tip for you. If you're playing the pre-alpha version, you can actually get into the base like this. Just drive up this rock. Up, I didn't make it that time. Now I'm probably stuck. No. It's a very sort of strategically placed rock. Right, now we can see that. Now we can see mother, but we can go like, oh, she's right over there. That's cool. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah. Got in. Yeah, there's like 3 or 4 or 5 different ways of getting into this place just by playing the game normally. Gonna drive up to the power station here. Let those guys actually talk it out. That's it, the power station. I'm sort of spoiling the mission a little bit here for you, but I'm not gonna spoil it all the way. I'm just gonna play through here so we can actually mess around with some of these vehicles and see sort of how it feels to actually be able to see, you know, how this. I can radio the scout. Scout is right there. That's cool. This is nice. This is nice. This is neat. Alright, come here. So let's open up the gate by lifting this guy into place. Blonk. No mother can actually find this. Alright, so Scout can come with us. Let's go hunt for some power cells here. So if you just very quickly press, you can just ever so slightly see that animation playing. That's fine. It's kind of like dismissing it immediately. Alright, well, I think this turned out pretty nicely. I have half a mind to actually update the pre-alpha 2 build tomorrow. We'll see if I actually get to doing that. But that would be cool. I'd like to have that mother vehicle steering update done as well. Especially if I do that, then it would be cool to give you guys an updated pre-alpha 2 build, because we have a couple of really neat new features here now to play around with. It would actually be kind of nice to have some sort of small little animation in that icon happening when you actually issue an order. If you tell the mother vehicle to, you know, reset your cargo crane, and it says, you know, confirmed or whatever, but it would actually sort of play. It would sort of continue that this thing with a small little animation that actually kind of like closes it out somehow. It would also mean that if you very quickly go like mother move here, you wouldn't just like see that thing flicker there. It would actually sort of play that end animation, stay on the screen for a little longer. That is actually probably a good thing. We'll see. Maybe I'll get that done tomorrow as well. Stuck. Yeah, we still have physics issues like that. Yeah, that's neat. It's a little bit more sort of player feedback. What is actually happening in the world. Okay, folks, I think we're pretty much done for today. I consider this a success. I think it was a good thing to get working. I have some ideas for how to make it even more cool. It just makes it nicer to play with this. I just don't want to contact these guys all day. But yeah, this was cool. We'll see. I might update the pre-alpha 2 version tomorrow. If I sort of consider it to be in a good enough state to leave you with for a while. because I will take a little bit of a break from at least from streaming, because I have a couple of shorter sort of trips coming up during July, the end of July, so I won't necessarily physically be here. I will still continue working on the game, but I won't necessarily physically be in a place where I can actually stream. So still might be able to help you on places like Discord, stuff like that if you have any issues, but the support will be a bit more limited than it usually is. So if I kind of don't feel confident in tomorrow's build, then I might not actually make the upgrade, but yeah, some pretty good improvements today all in all. Thanks for all the feedback to the build which is pre-alpha 2, which you can play right now. If you go to the Discord, you can find the build there on the announcement channel. So do check that out if this sounds and looks interesting. As always, I thank you for your time. Remember to like, subscribe, do all the YouTube jazz, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one.